Welcome to the 360 Sports Network. I'm James Dotson, and here with a special guest today, our newest member to the 360 Sports Network and our racing enthusiast, Mr. Ryan Mooney. How you doing, Ryan?
Not too bad, James. How about yourself?
Doing great. I'm ready for a fun, exciting end to the month of May here. We're looking forward to the 100th anniversary of the Indianapolis 500, the greatest spectacle in racing. So we are hoping here to give a little bit of a preview of what we have seen for the Indianapolis 500 here, and also a preview for the rest of the season, and a recap of what we've seen so far, and who we think might come up on top, who might be drinking the milk here in the next couple of days. Let's first look at the pole sitter for this year's Indianapolis 500, the first Canadian to ever sit on the pole for the greatest spectacle in racing, Alex Tagliani. He's been fast all month and put himself on the pole position with a average four lap average of 227.5 miles an hour. Ryan, what do you think of Tagliani here? Do you think he has a chance to win it?
You know, I feel bad because I'm asking where did he come from. I haven't watched him all season so far, and then I see, okay, he's 7th in the points. Why haven't I been watching
Yeah.
Alex Tagliani, But where has he finished the last couple of races? Because I just haven't heard his name,
He struggled at Brazil. He wasn't up there. But, I mean, before that, Long Beach, he was a top 5 finisher, or top 10 finisher. St. Pete, he was also up there in top 5, top 10. He's looking to be just a consistent driver. And I knew for him, especially at Indy, he came out of nowhere. At the top, last year, you had Penske, you had Ganassi, you had Andretti. You had those 3 teams took up almost the entire first 3 rows. And then you had this random guy of Alex Tagliani with speed up at the front of the field. And it's like, who is this guy? And so you knew coming into when he came to the ovals that he was going to be fast there. So to be able to have that kind of performance on the road course is really impressive.
He's within. Yeah, I mean, this is a great opportunity for him, starting pole,
Mm-hmm.
If he can keep up there.
Well, he's already got some points just for starting the race and starting on pole. Yeah. Not to mention a nice fat wallet of $175,000. But another strong contender you got to keep your eye on is Will Power, current points leader. Will Power qualified 5th. Is he gonna show his strength in the ovals again?
I would not want to be Will Power on Sunday. No pressure at all,
Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody says after every race this year, they've said, we had a great race. We're not Will Power. We can't go and catch him. I love it.
That sounds so much like the people saying we're not Red Bull.
Yeah.
Will Power seems right now to be that dominant, that far out ahead.
And look at the comparisons. Will Power, 4 pole positions. Sebastian Vettel, 4 pole positions.
Whoa! Mind is blown. That is crazy. I hadn't thought about that.
Oh, and then I'll tell you the one that really baffles me. Elio, 17th in the point standings right now, and then qualified, 17th. I think that's the one that just kills me, is that he was fast all month. He's always fast at Indy. He was going for the 3rd straight pole. That would have been a record. And then he goes and pulls that. It's just not his year. This is just really weird, but...
And he's skilled. I've seen him in past years. I mean, he's a great racer. But when things don't come together like they do for someone like Will Power this year, I guess that's what you get.
And I'll tell you what, though, Elio's first 2 wins were from the middle of the pack too. So
there's that possibility.
You never know what. Seriously, I can see anybody in this field making a shot to win it. Anybody. I mean, even Pippa Man and Anna Beatrice in the last row, they have legitimate shots to come all the way up through the field. When the cars are this equal, there's so much talent, both in and out of the race.
And you throw in that random chance of any kind of crash anywhere in the track, and everything's shuffled again.
Well, speaking of Pippa Man and Anna Beatrice, 2 of the 4 women in this year's Indianapolis 500 field, you can't talk about the Indy 500 without talking about its figurehead, its face, Danica Patrick. Just an absolutely talented driver, and always a threat to make some big noise here at the Speedway. You also got to look at Simona Di Silvestro. She had a very rough incident in practice one of the nastiest crashes you can see, walked away with it with some heavy burns on her hands, and was still able to come back and qualify 2 days later. So there are 4 very good women in this field. Is there any chance that a woman makes it to victory lane for the first time ever in Indianapolis?
You know, I watch the women more closely than I should. I realize it's sexist to watch the women more than the men, but I think I do it because I want to see more women in motorsport.
Right, and there should be.
There, absolutely, you know.
I mean, yeah, you've had, and look at the 500 this year. You have Simona, you have Danica, you have Pippa Mann, you have Anna Beatrice. You have 4 women in the field again. I mean, that's 4 out of 33. That's a very good number. And how many women do you have in the rest of motorsports combined?
Yeah. It's so cool to hear those 4 names and then think about the people who didn't. Mike Conway, you know, I mean,
Brian Hunter-Reay.
Hunter-Reay, even though he got, did a end run around that. But the point is, you know, you think about that, and that says something about the level of skill in this series, you know?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's really encouraging.
I know you're a big fan of Takuma Sato. What do you think of his chances?
With Rail starting so far down the order on Sunday and Sato starting so far up, you're going to see them, I think, if nothing goes crazy, they could switch positions.
Oh, easily.
And there's only a 2-point spread between them.
Yeah, Sato is going to be an interesting development just to see how he performs. He didn't have the greatest race last year. I mean, he stayed with it, but he ended up a few laps down at the end.
It's a shame. I mean, I want to see him do well because, you know, so many of these people, I mean, fewer than NASCAR, but a lot of them are still American. You look at the Andretti dynasty, you know, and it's still, you know, an American sport.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see people like Sato get into it and do well, you know.
Oh, but then look, going down the standings: Will Power, Australia; Franchitti, Scotland; Serbia, Spain; Conway, the UK.
Briscoe's Australian, is it? Or?
Yeah, Briscoe's Australian. Canon from Brazil, Tagliani Canada, Dixon New Zealand. You get all the way down to 9th in Rahal before you get an American. And after that, Japan, Switzerland, Brazil again, U.S., and England. So I mean, just going down, yeah. I mean, but even if you look at countries, look even further than that. Look at the teams. You got Penske at 1 and 5. You got Target at 2 and 8. But then Newman Haas at 3, Andretti at 4, KB Racing at 6, Sam Schmidt at 7. I mean, you got everybody up there.
And I love how Indy's reached out and had races. Now it's not just the drivers aren't just international, but the races are. You've got Toronto, you've got Brazil. That's great. I think they need to keep doing that because
you got Motegi too.
Motegi, yeah, Japan. What other circuits could they race? I mean, I'm sure there are some other ovals internationally that would be great additions to the calendar, but you wouldn't want to eliminate the ones that are already there. But
right, well, there's so many great ovals that they've already eliminated. I mean, what is the next step? Making the season a little bit longer now to try to incorporate a few more ovals, a few more road races, both in the U.S. and abroad. I mean, because you got some great courses. I mean, Michigan Speedway, another great super speedway that fans would like to see back. IndyCar Series already has a good race at Texas Motor Speedway, but there's actually some pretty interesting rumors going around regarding Monday Night Football, actually. If the NFL lockout continues and there's no football here in the fall, the IndyCar Series has been talking with Texas Motor Speedway and ABC to try to get a primetime race on a Monday night at Texas Motor Speedway to hopefully get in some of the audience that is missing out on Monday Night Football from the NFL.
That makes me positively giddy.
Exactly.
That'd be great.
I know. How amazing is that?
How many, and also the opportunity for the sport to maybe, acquire some new fan.
Exactly.
Fan demographic. That's great.
Exactly. And you can't. I mean, they're already doing a great job. I mean, you have people like you've had Marco Andretti throwing out the first pitch at a Dodgers game. You have Danica Patrick showing up pretty much anywhere and everywhere to support IndyCar. And then after they qualified on Sunday, the 33 drivers all flew out to 14 different cities across the U.S. and Canada to essentially promote the sport. I mean, you had people like Justin Wilson and Will Power going into iRacing's headquarters and talking to people there and getting on racetracks through iRacing right then and there to be able to help promote IndyCar Series, which is one of the reasons that the ratings keep climbing for him.
And, this is terrible of me to say, and it's really discriminatory against NASCAR, but I want to see IndyCar be more popular than NASCAR. I think it's a more worthy series. You know, I mean, it's more exciting to watch. I've watched both of them, and I feel like I wasted my time watching these brick-shaped cars run around a track at 170, 180 miles per hour at the high end. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that commercial with Lewis Hamilton and Tony Stewart, you know, was a perfect example of that. It is kind of a primitive. It's just a car.
Yeah. It looks like a regular car. It looks like I could go and sit shotgun if I really wanted to. And, I mean, yeah, you said it best once that when you're driving one of these cars, it's almost like, why would I want to be in the lead? I am so unaerodynamic, and I'm cutting up such a huge hole for everybody behind me. And, I mean, and everybody said this year how great the Daytona 500 was because of all the one car following the other, pushing each other literally around the track for 4 or 5 laps at a time. Says, wow, look how exciting this is. Like,
You serious?
Like, you're serious? You're enjoying this. You're enjoying that you absolutely have... The only way you're getting to victory lane is if somebody helps you. That's what you're telling me.
I can't tell you the times I've watched, you know, replays of old Indy 500s, and you know, there are only maybe 2 cars way out in front, car lengths ahead, you know, and they come into turn 4, last lap, you know, come out of turn 4, one of them gets out from tucked behind the other one, and they drag race down the line. That is racing, you know, that's... Anyone in any series can appreciate that.
Well, the commentators for NASCAR at the 500, they announced the winner before they entered turn 4 because they knew you weren't going to be able to pass when you got into turn 4. You just can't get out of it. Yeah, those drag races. I mean, 82 with Gordon Johncock and Rick Mears, 92 with Al Unser and Scott Goodyear. And then, I mean, my favorite one was when Sam Hornish passed Marco Andretti literally a few hundred yards before the start-finish line. I mean, that's... that, to me, was one of the most fun races I've been to. We're screaming our heads off. We can see going around turn 4, we can see that Hornish makes the move towards the inside. We're screaming our heads off. We look at each other after they cross the start-finish line. We look at each other like, so who won? I don't care. It was awesome. We couldn't tell who won. And it wasn't until 3 seconds later when they put Hornish's car on the Jumbotron that we knew he had passed him.
And that's how racing should be, you know. There should be a reasonable assumption that if you're fast all weekend, if you're fast all year, and if you're fast that day, you ought to win the race.
Yeah.
Or at least be, you know, with 1 or 2 other guys.
You're gonna be up there. I mean, there's also the strategy part of it. I mean, to make sure you're not at the wrong end of a pit sequence. But
you should not be fast, you know, the whole time, and then have an equal chance with 40 other people. You know.
Yeah, exactly. It's just doesn't seem fair to be racing that well, that consistently, and still end up having the type of results that you see in a NASCAR race. But bringing it back to the Indianapolis 500 here, looking at the starting grid, you can't help but see how many quote-unquote dark horse racers there are in the field, and not only just in the field, but qualifying really quickly and near the top of the list. Let's see, yeah, just the first 3 rows. You got Townsend Bell 4th, Dan Weldon 6th, you got Ed Carpenter 8th, Buddy Rice 7th. All 4 of those guys are only racing 1 race for the entire year. If one of them pulls to victory lane, or even like 2nd place, they're easily can be picked up by a team who has some money to do some races. They can easily be picked up like that. Or just, I mean, if somebody like, I don't know who's at the bottom of the list right now, I mean, someone like Sebastian Bourdais will still race the road races, but if the oval guys that are taking his place aren't doing well, you can easily see Dan Weldon going into that type of car. So it's interesting stuff like that, especially when I was surprised Weldon didn't have a drive to begin the year either.
So I mean, we can look at the way things have been going, the progression of the season prior to Indy, and then we can, you know, look at, do you think this is going to change anything? Do you think things are going to be any different after Indianapolis, or do you think that it's going to be more of the same in terms of who's on top and who's not doing so well?
Well, the one thing that I've seen so far, I mean, there's a big difference when you have road courses versus the ovals. I mean, there's still going to be a huge difference, because road races, you're going to have power in the top 5 or 10 every race, because he's just that good. In the ovals, though, it's about the speed, and history has said that Ganassi Racing and Penske Racing are going to be top. Well, Ganassi is still up there. They have 2 cars that could have easily made the pole had they not run out of gas, but Penske is way down in the list when you get rid of Will Power. So looking beyond this race, it's still an open season, which is why I'm loving where IndyCar is right now. In all the first 4 races, you had at least 7 teams represented in the top 10. That's unheard of. Normally it's 1, 2, 3, 4 are the 2 Target cars and the 2 Penske cars every time. And it's not like that this year. You have Newman Haas with Aurea Servia. You have the KV Racing guys of Sato and Kanan up there. You have Panther with Hildebrand making a run, and you have Sam Schmidt with Tagliani. So you got so much possibility that even though right now Power and Franchitti are definitely the top dogs, and they're going to be the ones fighting for the championship, you're going to have still people like Oriol Servia, people like Graham Rahal, people like Tony Kanaan, who they're going to be close enough that if it just comes to one victory, they can skyrocket up the point standings and be right there at the end for the battle in Las Vegas. Well, why don't I ask you, what is your Indy 500 prediction? Who do you think has the chance there? Who do you think will shine? Who do you think will not shine? And who do you have in victory lane?
You know, it's really not fair of me with so little experience in the series to say. I guess I'm going to tell you who I hope to see shine and who I hope to see do well. And that is, again, I mean, you know, Takuma Sato. I know he's not a big name yet, but I love to see him do well. And same thing with the women. I'd love to see Danica and Simona do well. You know, Will Power, I think, is a reasonable bet to do so. Because, I mean, you're not going to stop that kind of momentum.
No, definitely. He's 4 pole positions already. He didn't get on the pole for this one, but he's starting in a good position, middle of row 2. And, I mean, the racers debate whether it's a sprint or a marathon. You got to be quick the whole way around, but you got to be there. Mm-hmm. And when you're starting where you are, that's with Will Power. That's definitely a good bet.
I'd like to see Tony Kanaan also move up from his starting position because, I mean, he is so skilled when it comes to the actual race, to getting clustered in with those cars. You know, it seems like he keeps his head on.
Yeah.
And that's any racer needs that ability. And
well, you saw that with Kanaan last year. He started 33rd, made past 7 or 8 cars before entering turn 2, and if it weren't for accident with Davey Hamilton, he would have gone 4 or 5 more positions before entering turn 3. So, I mean, starting in the back of the pack, Kanaan said that all week. Like, you know, it's not that I don't care. I'd love to be up front, but I've done it before. I know I can do it again.
If you're that confident, who cares?
Yeah. Well, not even confidence. Just like, yeah, it is what it is. I've been there. I can do it. But, yeah, crowd favorite in Tony Kanaan. He's definitely a good pick. I'll tell you got to keep your eye out for, starting in the 6th position, Dan Weldon. Mm-hmm. Always a great racer. He actually has led more laps in Indianapolis than Helio Castroneves, a 3-time champion. So, you look at him, he's got a fast team, a fast car. He's going to be a contender possibly to win his second Indy 500, and as a one-and-done driver. He's only there for 1 race, and that would be absolutely unbelievable for the sport for something like that to happen, to show that any team can win. But my pick, I got to pick Oriol Servia. He's been too consistent all year.
You've been on about him.
I'm telling you, he's been consistent all year, and he's been quick all month, and to go and qualify 3rd, he's a dark horse. Not many people are looking at him. I think he's got a great spot from the outside of row 1.
I think to preserve my sense of justice, if nothing else, you know, it's spiteful to say, I want to see hunter-reay just do nothing. I want him to have the worst day of his life on Sunday. Just because, you know, I know it is about the team. It is a team sport, just like any other racing series, but, God, there's something so unfair about that, you know? I mean, for Bruno.
Yeah, how can you feel for Bruno Junqueira? I mean, he pole position back in like 2003 as a rookie, and he's always been fast when he's come to the Speedway. But yeah, when it comes to the actual race, he hasn't done well. So I can see from Voigt's perspective why he could look to put hunter-reay in the car. But you're right. I'd be interested to see what would happen if hunter-reay were to drive that number 41 in the victory lane.
And it's sad to see, you know, what if Junqueira also, you know, turns things around. We'll never see them both in the same car on the same day, and that's the shame, you know, that you'll never know. You can't know.
Exactly. You will never know, because, yeah, you're right. Junqueira has not done well in the races so far, but there's nothing to say that he wouldn't this time. So for your first month of May, to be able to completely follow the Indy Racing League and the Indianapolis 500, what have you liked most, and what are you looking most forward to for next Sunday?
What I've liked most is, I mean, the excitement of following something new. It is that kind of childish, brand new series. Getting to know the personalities. You've got some people like Kanan, a fighter. And people like Power, who is just coming from a position of dominance, from a position of strength. And can he keep a hold of that? It's fun to get to know these people. And to hear the in-car communications and get a little peek into who they are. That's probably great. The racing's great too. I mean, you can't knock. Like you said, we've had a smattering of different people, different teams in the top 10 consistently. That's good racing. So the series has impressed upon me that it's got a lot to offer.
Hopefully, it'll continue to increase and continue to as you continue to learn more about some new faces that will seem like old faces to us, but new faces to you as they return to the speedway for the greatest spectacle in racing. And I think that no matter what happens, no matter which one of the 33 racers wins it, whether it be man or a woman, whether it be American, Canadian, Brazilian, Swiss, Japanese, no matter what happens, we're going to be in for a very fun race, and it's going to be a race where literally anybody can be drinking the milk. Anybody could end up kissing the bricks at the end of hopefully a nice, warm, clear day. Well, that about wraps things up for this edition of the 360 Sports Network. Hope you had fun and hope you're ready for a fun event here on Memorial Day weekend for the greatest spectacle in racing. I'm James Dotson here with Ryan Mooney, and ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
How I long for my